There's a simple rule in life. Whatever doesn't kill you makes you better. I totally believe that rule. And if you want to get killed over and over and over again, start a small business. You are absolutely guaranteed to run up against uh, issues and problems and circumstances that will drive you absolutely to the edge of your existence. Okay. So, I mean, let's be honest here. Small business is hard. And the ones that succeed are the ones who are willing to punch through the walls, or jump over the walls, or run around the walls that are going to be that they're going to be faced with in their business career. So I want to talk to you today. Here, Randy Kirk on Small Business Daily. I want to talk to you today. Be extremely transparent about the biggest problems that I've faced in business, and what you might want to think about in terms of how you'll deal with those kind of issues when you are faced with them as well. So the number one problem that I have faced in business undoubtedly has been luck or timing. Now, you can call that two different things. I think it's really hard to be very extremely aware of all the timing problems. So I opened a bike shop in 1971. That might give away my age. Don't do the math too fast. Okay, so I opened a bike shop in 1971. I opened it on the July 3rd, I think it was, or July 2nd. That was the weekend of the beginning of the only dock strike that was bi-coastal. Both coasts shut down. The only time it's ever happened in the history of the United States. Both coasts. Well, the bicycle industry then had a lot of domestic suppliers, but most of the suppliers that I was dealing with were importers. So I opened my shop on a Friday or Saturday, I can't remember. And when I called the suppliers to get my first shipments, I wasn't going to get any shipments because they were going to send all of the bikes that I had ordered to their regular customers who were not going to be able to get bikes. Kind of like in this pandemic year that we're in now, in terms of the bicycle industry, there's no bikes. Okay, well, there was no bikes then either. So if somebody had opened a bike shop last March, they would have been faced with the same problem that I'm faced with. Or if they opened one today, they wouldn't be able to get any bikes right now. So here I have this bike shop. I've got my rent to pay. I've got my electric bill to pay. I've got my Yellow Page ad to pay. And there's a dock strike. And the dock strike lasted. It wasn't like a week. I forget now, but I think it lasted like 4 months where both docks were completely shut down. So basically, to be honest with you, by July to Christmas I closed. The day after Christmas, I shut it down, walked away. So timing can be everything. And I've run into timing issues over and over and over again, and you will too. Now, by the way, timing works both ways. And again, I call it luck to a certain extent. I started a water bottle business, a bicycle water bottle business, a couple of weeks before the largest at that time bicycle water bottle company in the country, Specialized, decided they were no longer going to sell any bicycle water bottles through distributors. They were only going to sell them direct to their own customers. Well, every distributor in the country needed a supplier now. And we had just started manufacturing and selling water bottles. So we instantaneously had a fantastic demand on our product that we were never, years and years, it took us to catch up with that demand. And we ultimately became the largest water bottle manufacturer in the world. So timing works both ways. Luck works both ways. But in terms of a business problem, yes, timing and or luck, as far as I'm concerned, is number one, right at the top. For me, the number two business problem that I've faced has been product failure. So you have spent a lot of time and energy bringing a product to market. You've designed it, you've designed the packaging, you've pre-sold it, you've got your advertising campaign all ready to go. You've made a lot of decisions about color and size and shape and all these kinds of things. You have a massive possible investment in manufacturing equipment or manufacturing molds. Maybe you have employees, a warehouse, a manufacturing space. So you've got this big investment, and now it's time to put the product out there, and you might have some product failures. Well, I have had numerous product failures that have come this close to putting me out of business. I'm not sure, I can't remember if any of those product failures ever actually finally put me out of business. But I've had I've had a failure where the caps on my bicycle squeeze bottles, my bicycle water bottles, were cracking. And I was getting phone calls from people like Gatorade saying, come pick up your bottles, come pick up your 25,000 bottles. You like that phone call? So come get your 25,000 water bottles because the caps are breaking and they don't work. So you see, that could be a existential problem. If you're not able to solve that problem, you're out of business, because if you can't make and ship the water bottles, maybe that's it was for us, it was our largest product line, and we would have either had to downsize dramatically or potentially just go out of business. We were able to solve it. So it wasn't an insolvable problem, but it was a problem that cost us hundreds of thousands of dollars and could have been or was nearly an existential issue. So product problems. Number 3 is related. Number 3 is supplier problems. So in another video recently, I mentioned that I had owned a company called Best Value Rent-A-Car. Well, when I entered that business, which was a used car rental car business, there was 2 insurance companies that were willing to insure used cars. And it was only a matter of time, I think 3 or 4 months, before one of those insurance companies decided they were going to no longer insure used car rental car businesses. And then it was only a matter of a little while longer when the final guy in the business was able to become very, very sticky about their rules, their regulations, and able to raise their price on used car rentals. Well, long story short, I actually did close that business down. It became too difficult to deal with only one supplier in the industry. Well, supplier problems are something, if you're going to be in any small business, you have suppliers. Whether you're manufacturing, wholesale, import, services, it doesn't matter. You've got suppliers. Right now, if you are a manufacturer of automobiles, right now, as I'm doing this, you have a supplier problem. You're not able to get enough chips, okay, because of dock problems and because of import problems and because everybody's buying way more chips than they were a year ago, and the chip factories can't keep up. That's a supplier problem. For some companies, it could be existential, or it could certainly cost them huge amounts of money in the short term. Well, it's also true for the very smallest businesses. So supplier problems are another issue that can really drive you crazy when you're in small business. Number 4, and one that has been a problem for me many times in business, is not enough cash. I could suggest that having too much cash can be a problem too, but since I've never personally been faced with that problem, I'm not going to list it today. But not having enough cash, yeah, that's been a problem repeatedly in my career because I've commonly started businesses with very little money. Now, the good news about starting a business with very little money is that you're going to have to hustle. There's no, you can't overspend in the beginning. You can't even overspend in the middle. You're just figuring out how to stay as lean and mean as possible in order to stay in business. So starting out with a little bit of money as opposed to tons of money is a blessing in many regards, but it is going to mean that you're going to potentially be short of cash from time to time. It is a problem. I actually have missed entire payrolls. Now there's a transparent statement for you. I thought my company was gone the weekend that I was unable to cash a single one of the payroll checks that was going to come through on that Monday. And it was resolved. The company continued for 17 more years. Not a single employee left me. But the truth is that I didn't have enough cash on that Friday to make the payroll that was going to be coming through my checking account on Monday. I have written a book called When Friday Isn't Payday, because that's part of when Friday isn't payday. But then when you don't have enough cash, commonly Friday isn't payday for moi. Okay, so you're always going to pay everybody else first, and sometimes there's just not enough left for you. So that was the theory behind the headline or the title on When Friday Isn't Payday. And I certainly continue to recommend my best-selling ever book, which has now been on the market for 27 years. And so missing a payroll on a Friday has earned me a lot of money in royalties on that book. So not having enough cash can hurt you in so many different ways. You can't buy the supplies you need. Your landlord might decide to throw you out if you can't pay the rent, or certainly you'll have penalties and charges because of not being able to pay people on time. Your employees may not be as understanding as mine were if you don't pay them on Friday. So these are some of the issues that come up with not having enough cash. And of course, there are ways to resolve that by cutting back your overhead, by going and finding loans, by being very, very good for a while at making profits so that you can create the cash necessary to run your business properly. And I've done all of the above in terms of resolving cash flow problems. But that's certainly another one that's a real killer when it comes to running your small business. You know, I was going to do 10 today, and that's what I promised you in the headline, in the title for today's Small Business Daily, but I'm not going to have time for 10. But let's go ahead and do number 5. And then if you'll come back tomorrow, we'll do the other 5. So let's now do number 5, which is employee dishonesty. Now, sometimes you might think employee dishonesty, oh, they're stealing the stationery or they're stealing some product out the back door. Maybe even larger. I've had individuals who have come in the middle of the night and stolen inventory. I've had another individual who stole about $10,000 by writing checks basically to herself. Not quite, but sort of, and I missed it. So that kind of employee dishonesty can certainly be a hiccup, and sometimes that kind of employee dishonesty can be a company destroyer or certainly set you way back. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about employee dishonesty where they steal your customer list and go open up down the street or go to work for somebody else based on the fact they're going to bring your customer list along with them. Obviously, it's dishonest. It's against the law for them to steal your customer list and do that. But that would be the kind of higher level of employee dishonesty that I'm referring to. Employee dishonesty can be another type of employee dishonesty can be where somebody disrupts the business on purpose because they know they're leaving. So employee dishonesty is a big one. How do you deal with employee dishonesty? Well, the number one thing that I've always felt about it is when you find it, it isn't a, let me think about it for a minute question. They're gone. I'll put up with a lot, but I will not put up with employee dishonesty. So they're out the door. Now I've got to deal with the ramifications of what they've done, which may include suing them, which may include jailing them, which I have done. But whatever the case may be, they're gone. They're not going to be working for me anymore, no matter what their excuse is. So those are my 5 biggest problems that I've dealt with in small business. And tomorrow on Small Business Daily, we're going to attack the next 5. So join me tomorrow.